marriage and parenthood are beautiful things, and I'm excited for them at this point in my life. They're also challenging. They're also difficult. So why I don't want to make that even harder than I need to, right? If I can go to, it sounds trite, if I can go to a gym, which is really good, which is 2 minutes away, or I can go to one which is 30 minutes away, and I have both options, I'm going to go to the one that's easier for me, right? Like, training is already hard. Why do I need to add the extra commute to it, right? If I'm traveling around, cool, I can go to that one too. So that's simply the way that I view it for myself. And not everyone is going to reach the same conclusion, nor would I want them to, right? I don't want everyone living in the same city or in the same country. That would be a nightmare. I just say to people, look, each person has to make their own decision. And there's going to always be trade-offs. There's no place there's not trade-offs. One of the most common questions I get asked, Frankie, because people see I travel so much, is what's the best city? What's the best country? Where should I move to? I'm like, bro, I don't know who you are. I don't know your job. I don't know your family situation. I don't know what type of weather you like. I don't know what type of food you like. I don't know how much you care about taxes and social things. Like, do you want socialized? There's people who think the NHS is amazing. There's people who think socialized medicine is a disaster. There's people who are happy to pay. I've spoken to people who are from like places like Finland and Norway, and they're happy to pay 40, 50, sometimes 60% taxes for the things that they get for it. Whereas to me, I don't even care what you're giving me. I don't want to pay. I'm not giving half my money to the government. I don't even care. I don't care what you give me. Yeah. Like, to me, on a moral principle and just the way I view the world,
it's not like that's not good for you.
Yeah, like that's not it. But everyone's different. So I'm just like, look, some people will be like, hey, the best place for me is Iceland. I'm like, cool.
I've got some conflicting views in my mind that I'd like to discuss with you, because obviously you're a man that's done this.
Sure.
When we spoke in Australia, you were at that point in your life, you were traveling around the world and you had a certain amount of pairs of shoes, certain amount of shirts. We talked about the suit that you had one suit and it could do this, that, and that way. And we talked about that whole process. And I thought, oh, that inspired me to go on this journey myself. Now I'm living this life where I'm out of this suitcase. And I'm kind of spending like 1 or 2 months in each location. I can't do weeks here, weeks there, because I get the instability kills me. But one thing I've struggled with is like when I let go of my UK base after leaving Australia, I kind of feel like by having no fixed base, it's been a real struggle to me. And I think it's how have you overcame that struggle when you leave? Because obviously you did it for so much longer than me.
Yeah.
So how did you get over that bit?
Well, look, firstly, again, it comes down to, there's a lot of factors, I think. One of them is just personality type, right? When I explain to people what I do, I'm like, yeah, I don't recommend it for most people, right? I do 50 flights a year, something like that. There's some people who hear that and they're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm so jealous. I wish I could do that. I'm like, do you really? Like, some people are wired for it, but a lot of people aren't. Like, I don't even get jet lag. Yeah. Right? Most people are like, geez, how do you deal with jet lag? I'm like, I don't. Like, I'm fine, right? So maybe there's something in my physiology and personality type that makes me okay with it. But also, the way I grew up was really different from most people. I grew up traveling, right? I was born in England. I lived in Saudi Arabia. I went to boarding school from the age of 11. From the age of 11, I was flying internationally by myself. Yeah, flying back and forth between the UK and Saudi Arabia multiple times a year on my own. I've now at this point been to, I think, 43 different countries. I've been to so many cities. I've been to 25 different U.S. states. I'm not even American. When I went solo with my music career and I was just traveling all over the U.K., Bournemouth, Manchester, Isle of Wight, Norwich, Cardiff, Glasgow, just all over the place. I've lived this very nomadic lifestyle to some extent for the majority of my life.
So it kind of feels strange, doesn't it?
Yeah. So when people even ask me, like, where are you from? Most people, if you ask them where are they from, they have a simple answer. I don't. I'm not trying to be smart or whatever, or be weird and not be indirect with people. But if someone asks me, oh, where are you from? I'm like, well, what do you mean? Do you mean where I was born? I was born in Luton. I've never lived in Luton in my life, right? I'm from England. They're like, why do you sound American? I'm like, okay, I grew up in Saudi Arabia. I went to an American school in Saudi Arabia, and then I went to a British school and a British university, and my family is from Nigeria. And right. So I could say Nigeria is my home. I have a valid claim to that. I could say Saudi Arabia is my home. I have a valid claim to that. I could say England is my home. I have a claim to that. And I say that, and people are like, oh, but you sound American.
So essentially what you're saying is you've become peaceful wherever you lay your hat.
Exactly.
And whereas what I've been trying to battle is in my head, I've been trying to battle like, oh, you're a citizen of Australia, you're a citizen of the UK, and it's like I've attached myself to those things. Whereas what you've plainly said to me there is, Frankie, I don't associate with a certain country. I just associate my home is wherever I lay my hat.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't even say that. I would say I associate with several of these countries. But I don't have such a strong, like when I talk to other people, I can see that a lot of people, maybe most people, have a very strong emotional attachment to a place. It could be a city. It could be their country as a whole. I think that is the norm. I think the global norm is to have a strong emotional attachment to where you're from and where you were raised. I'm an anomaly in that I don't really have that. I love the UK. I love Saudi. I love the US. I love Nigeria. And I appreciate different things in different ones. I love other countries that I've never lived in just because I enjoy traveling to them. But for me, that particular hurdle is it's a very small bump because I don't feel such a strong attach. I like the UK, but I don't have the emotional attached to it in the way that someone who was born in England, raised in England, grew up in England, went to school, went to university, whatever. So for me as well, and I think part of I've never actually discussed this before, but I would assume that some of the reason that bonding occurs is because people associate the hometown or the home country with the people, right? Oh, that's where my family is. That's where my parents are. Maybe their siblings, their school friends, their university friends, whatever it is. A lot of people spend the first 20 plus years of their life in one city or one region, and everyone they know is there. I grew up traveling. I have friends my friends are all over the world. I can go to any city, any country. I have friends there. Some of them will be friends that I grew up with from Saudi, because where I grew was like very multinationality. So there were Americans and Canadians and Brits, people from Arab countries, people from Asian countries, people from African countries. They were all there. And now all those people are dispersed all over the world. I went to 2 different boarding schools in the UK. So I have sets of friends from, okay, so let me run this through. I have sets of friends from the first school I went to in Saudi Arabia, the second school I went to in Saudi Arabia, the first boarding school I went to in the UK, the second boarding school I went to in the UK, Oxford University, friends I made when I worked in the corporate world for 3 years, friends I've made through my music career, and then friends I've made from all of the crazy work that I've done over the past few years, podcasts, speaking events, just posting on social media, whatever it is. So my circle of, I have like 10 circles of friends all over the place. They're not just like, oh, okay, my friends are in Bournemouth, or, oh, okay, my friends are in Dubai, or my friends are in, like, they're just everywhere. So I don't have that. I think maybe that's part of why as well. I don't have like that emotional connection. So I love Saudi. I lived in Saudi for 20 years. But everyone I grew up with in Saudi no longer lives there. So if I were to go visit Saudi Arabia, I can't just kind of go back to where I grew up and see all those same people and catch up with everyone, because none of them are there anymore. So while there's some desire to see the place again, those connections are scattered elsewhere. I don't really have a loyalty to any patch of land. I do have loyalty to people. I have loyalty, of course, to my friends, to my family. I'm super tight with my family. And also with my own family, we're scattered across 4 different countries and continents in my immediate family, right? I've got 4 siblings. We live in 4 different countries. So even if I want to see everyone, I want to see my brothers, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews.
It involves you traveling, which is what you do.
Exactly. Because people are like, oh, don't you miss your family? I'm like, yeah, I see my family more than anyone else in my family sees my family.
Because of the way
I'm traveling so much. Exactly. And I understand, look, once I settle down and I get married and I have children and start my own family, some of this is I'll still be traveling because I need to for what I do for work, but it's not going to be as intense as it has been. And I'm very conscious of that. I'm very aware of it. I recognize, cool, I'm in this unique stage. So
seasons.
Seize it. I'm working on my third book right now, and earlier in the year I went to Guadalajara in Mexico to work on it. I went to Medellin, Colombia last month to work on my book. I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to go to Medellin. I've always wanted to go to Colombia. Why don't I work on my book there? And once I've got like some kids and stuff, I might not be able won't be able to make that decision so easily. Or if I do, it's going to be a big, okay, let's all go over. Like there's a lot more coordination. So something I also recommend to young people is, if you're in a certain position where I think it's good to look down the course of your life and think about what you will be able to do and not do, and how easy or difficult it might be to do at different phases of your life.
Yeah.
Right. I think about my life a lot. Like I don't run around doing all the things I'm doing thinking, okay, I can live exactly like this forever. I know I can't. And actually I wouldn't want to. If I had dependents and kids who need to see their father and be around, I wouldn't want to be just, okay, bye guys. Like I'm off for months on end traveling in random places. It'll be, okay, cool. I've got to go do this event here. Either I'd like to think, okay, sometimes they can come with me. Sometimes it might just be me who goes. And then, okay, cool. I do the thing and I come back. So I think a lot down the line, and I like to sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, life plan a little bit, and think, okay, this is what I aspire to. This is what I'm going to have in the future. So let me use this moment to build everything towards that.